Waiters and waitresses, what are some signs you're serving a first date? When a person arrives and says table for two, but the other person doesn't show up. I mean, it was supposed to be a date. It happened quite a bit where I used to work. Staying way beyond being done with their meal and drinks, usually because they don't want to try to figure out if they are meant to be going home together or not. One time I had a couple who were talking about what they had been doing the previous summer, indicating that they didn't know each other until recently. They ordered a bottle of $100 red wine, and when I came back with the bottle, the guy had started telling a gross story about how he was so hungover on vacation that his friends had to carry him inside the airport, where he had puked multiple times on various people/things etc. Before she even finished her first glass of wine, the girl left the restaurant and the guy stayed and drank the whole thing himself without ordering any food. The best/worst part was when he also chugged down her half-finished glass before he left as well. Honestly, can't usually tell. I have made it awkward before by saying you guys are so cute, how long have you been together before, to get the response of they are on their first date. Whoops. The biggest sign is when they order something the other doesn't expect them to get. I'll have a Guinness. So you like Guinness? When he leaves before the food he ordered is made. I brought it out and she asked for the bill because he left. Brutal experience. She had to pay for his drinks and food. She didn't even want to pack his dinner up to eat later. This was not a cheap restaurant, but the tables were close together, so it must have been mortifying. I gave her the employee discount. So, what do you like to do in your free time? Till just how much waiters listen to their customers' conversations. When I worked as one, I swear I never heard a damn thing my tables were saying. On my first date with my now wife, our waiter figured it out for us. We had been acquaintances for years through mutual friends, and when we agreed to grab dinner that night, neither of us were sure if the other was in it for a date or just dinner with an acquaintance/friend. I guess we were being just awkward and jiggly enough that our waiter, who had known us separately as regulars at this restaurant, blurted out, "Oh man, are you guys on a date?" We both just started laughing nervously while looking at each other and flop sweating. The waiter felt the awkwardness multiply and backed away like Homer Simpson into a hedge. 9 years later we're married, the restaurant went out of business, and I'm still not sure if it was a date or not. I'm not a waiter anymore, but one time I was at a place and the waiter came over when my girlfriend went to the toilet. He said how he thought things were going well and asked if this was our first or second date. We had literally been together over 5 years at that point, haha, so yeah, you guys aren't always right. Big tip from the guy, despite you not doing anything exceptional service wise. Happened to me several times, lol. They arrive separately and confirm that the other person is the one they are supposed to be on the date with. When I was on my first date nearly 5 years ago with my now fiancé, we went to this nice Italian place. Has drinks, salad, entree, definitely indulging Porziano first date. I wanted to have a good time with this girl, and before we even asked for the check, a fine looking plate of cake came out, and the waitress said that our bill was covered by someone who wants to remain anonymous. All she would tell me is that the person said we were looking like we were having a good time and made them smile. I gotta tell you, I was blown away by this act of kindness. And I also think that played a good role in me snagging a second date with the love of my life. We're still trying to pay the act forward and find an obvious first date out at a restaurant. One of these days we will. But yeah, didn't really answer your question. But some patron noticed us and ended up paying a hefty bill on our behalf. Edit. Fiancé. They look a teeny bit relieved every time you disturb them until things change. Then, if it's going well, you may as well have disappeared. If it's going badly, you're either surrogate friend, fallout shelter, or worst enemy. That part is actually more fun. Talking about the menu way I to in detail to fill silences, or using it to make conversation. I think I'll get mashed potatoes as my side. Tell me about your view on mashed potatoes. Weird lulls in the conversation that consists of information friends/partners should already know, like how many siblings they have, desert island movies, etc. Not a waitress, but someone assumed me and my BF of 7 years were on a first Tinder date. I could hear them say it from the table next to us. So I reached over, took huge sips from his drink, and ate off his plate, just for ****TS and giggles. I texted him about what and why I was doing this and he laughed, grabbed my drink, and said, "So where are you from?" ABD sat my drink back down in front of me. Good times. Till my wife and I are always on a first date. They actually talk to each other. This couple were on a first date, and every time he went to the toilet, she was swiping on Tinder. Ruthless. They take forever to order because they haven't even looked at the menus, even though they have been sitting at the table for 30 minutes. Served a couple the other day. The boy's parents came in, and we had their tables next to each other by coincidence. I once waited an obvious first date where the guy was very shy and nervous. The girl that was with him was absolutely stunning. He kept his hands under the table and fumbled them around a lot. Whenever I came to the table they visibly loosened up, so I talked to them for a minute and maybe told a joke or something because they seemed to enjoy it. I hope my boy got laid that night because I tried my best. You can see fear in the guy's eyes. They don't look at their phones as often, or will immediately after one leaves for the restroom, etc. Not a waiter, but I work at Starbucks. I can tell when a guy and girl meet, shake hands in front of the register. They order together, the guy pays, then they sit together talking/laughing in the cafe for the next couple hours. Not sure why they're meeting at the register, but it happens a lot. If I was meeting a girl at Bucks for a first date, I'd meet at the door or a table, and then go up and order together. Edit. Fun follow up. One location I worked at a few years back was also a frequent date spot. When we closed at 10 PM, sometimes couples would finish up their dates in their cars in our parking lot and still be there when we left about a half hour later. I know, classy. One coworker I frequently closed with owned a former police car, and sometimes we'd have fun pulling up behind these amorous stragglers and turning the spotlight on the car. Instant hilarity. I'm not a waitress, but I hope that somehow the hostess/waiter that served my first date with my husband reads this and reminisces at my awkwardness. I met my husband on a Cupid. We talked for a few days and had seen a few pictures, but it's hard to be sure what someone will look like in person. We were supposed to meet at a restaurant that's like a small step up from Chili's. So he texts me that he got there first and had been seated already. Awkward, but okay. I walk in and stammer to the waitress something about meeting a date that had already been seated. She told me I could go look for him. I then awkwardly stammered about how I'd never actually met him and didn't know exactly who I was looking for. She laughed and pointed me in the direction of someone who had been seated waiting on a date. HMM. Looks a bit like the pictures, but cuter actually. I get to the table and make eye contact and has like poodle mama, and him like, "Hey, yeah, that's me," and we shook hands. Oh my, it was awkward. Found out he thought there was a wait, so he put us on the list, but then they did have a table for two, so they made him sit. That was the reason for that awkwardness. So we wound up talking for 3 hours until they were closing. It was a great date. Now we've been married almost 2 years. We still joke about the first time we shook hands. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.